What is up, yesers, guessers, and IBSers? Thanks for sitting down at the messy desk with me this week. Today, you might be alarmed. The little bells in your head that notice a change in a pattern might be ring-a-ding-dinging because where's the desk? Where's the mess? Well, the mess is right behind us, so worry not. My wife is very strategically blocking it off. But today, I wanted to do something a little different, as I'm wont to do, and I wanted to just kind of sit and talk. It's kind of rude, Link. I just wanted to sit and talk about some stuff that's been on my mind recently. It was brought up in a group chat and kind of sparked an interesting discussion. And so, yeah, I thought, why not? Let's talk about it. So what I want to talk about today is gas. Now, I don't mean the type that makes your stomach go out all big and your butt go toot toot. What I mean is, I'm sure you know if you're watching my channel, gear acquisition syndrome. And you might be asking yourself, if you're talking about gas and gear acquisition syndrome, why is your wife near you? Because gear's for the boys, and this is a boys game, and girls just don't understand. And you know what, brother? I don't agree with your outmoded sexist views. I know that you're made of straw, man, but my wife has actually been a bystander to my worst gas practices, both the kind that involve gear and the kind what make toot toots out of my big stinky man butt. Okay, so I brought her onto the show, a little guest panel. Let's get a round of applause, okay? Play her in, thank you very much. Get a little jazz here to weigh in on sort of the effects of watching me buy a lot of gear, be very upset at the lack of output due to that gear, and then sell that gear. And then you know what I do? I buy some more of it. And does it work out? No. And then I sell it. And then, well, did I learn anything? No, I buy more gear. No. And this is something I'm still struggling with. So this is not me to stand up and say, here's the cure to gas. I hear that Pepto-Bismol helps, but more to say, here's some reasons why I think just attaining or acquiring a lot of gear is... No, fine. At your convenience, dude.
Sir.
More of, I feel your pain, and I want to talk you through why I think constantly acquiring gear, while fun at first and certainly attractive, is not ultimately super productive. If your goal is to be a productive artist, if your goal is to just play with a bunch of gear and tinker, fucking buy all the gear you want, dude. Literally have fun, and that's great. As long as you can afford it and it's not hurting anybody, you should do that. But if you're someone like me who wants to put out music and you know, maybe be recognized for your music, the gear acquisition can be actively harmful towards that. So I have to lead up to an intro now. 5 reasons gas is hurting you and me. Let's talk about it. To start, I want to talk about the elephant in the room, which you've probably been yelling at your screen for the entirety of this video so far, which is, Octodad, you have a ton of gear, dude. How are you going to tell me not to buy a ton of gear when you have a lot of gear? Yeah, I have a lot of gear. I'm a dirty, shameful, ugly man. She can attest to this, okay? Do as I say, not as I do. Remember, I am your dad. Remember all the times your dad would tell you, you know, don't do this, don't do that, but he's doing it? Okay, same situation. Go to your room and listen to me, okay? To really address it, yeah, I have a lot of gear. I've bought even more gear than I have, and I've sold a lot of it. And I want you to learn from me, from my trials and tribulations, not to make the same mistakes that I did. Because a lot of what I try to do on this channel, aside from provide you hilarious memes and Octatrack content, is to try to give advice that I would give to my younger self. And one of those pieces of advice would be, for God's sakes, dude, stop buying gear. Please stop buying gear. And I have to keep drilling that into my head. So let's just run down the list and talk about why I think gas is really, really a difficult thing if your goal is to be a productive musician. Number 1, I promise, no matter how much you think it will, a new piece of gear won't make your music better. I know you don't want to hear this. I know you think I'm wrong. You're probably commenting right now, you're fucking wrong, dude. When I get XYZ, it's gonna sound so much better. Maybe, dog. Maybe. Probably not, though. You want to know why? Because it doesn't matter what you're making music with. Like, some of the best musicians in the world make music with just a laptop and like, or with one piece of gear, you know, like all this gear acquisition and, you know, hunting down the new hot thing and like synfluence and like all this shit. It's a rat race. It's a red herring. You're not going to make better music. Some of the best music I've ever made has been using gear that I'm vastly familiar with, or not using my gear at all, just using Ableton, because who would have thunk it? A DAW is really powerful. So every time that you're thinking about buying a piece of gear because you think this is what's going to make my setup work, it won't. It won't. There will always be another thing that you'll want to add. There will always be a missing piece. Your studio setup will never be complete or perfect. Anybody that's been doing this for a long time will agree with that. Don't do it. Don't make that mistake. My wife can attest to this. So many times I've said to her, you know, how many times have I said, oh like this is the piece that'll do it. And then I'm like, oh, it turned out that didn't work out. It's this thing that will do it.
Yeah, it was like, oh yeah, this is coming today. And then you'd get the thing. And then like next week you'd be like, actually, I hate this thing. I already swapped it out for something else. It's on its way. I'm taking, and it was, he was busy with like his job. So it was like, can you take this and drop this off at the post office for me? And I would just be like, oh, another one. Okay.
Yeah. And then of course the thing that I'd be waiting on, that's the new shiny. That's the one that'll do it. New gear won't make your music better, dog. Don't do it. Okay. All right. Number 2, it's really tempting to think that a new shiny piece of gear is going to do wonders for your workflow, that it's going to make things smoother or grander or more dander if you're adding media to your setup, which I encourage you to do every week. Subscribe, ding the bell for notifications, like, comment, share, throw up gang signs. Don't
do that. Don't do that.
I promise you, here's my second promise to you. It's going to make your workflow worse because you know how to use the stuff you have, I hope. This is something we're going to get to a little later about why you shouldn't gas. Hopefully you know how to use the stuff you're doing. But if you get a new thing, you don't know how to use that new thing. And yes, I hear what you're saying. It might push you to new places. It might break habits. It might, you know, augment your workflow in an interesting way. And I think there's something to that. And that's something that I battle with constantly. I just got that machine drum semi-recently. I've barely touched it because every time I touch it, I don't know how to fucking use it. Okay? And it takes me a long time to make anything, and I'm not very happy with what I make, so I'm just, why the fuck am I doing this, you know? So, more often than not, it's just gonna frustrate you, my guy. You're gonna sit down, you're gonna say, I have to read this manual, and we don't like to read manuals in these parts. It'll ultimately be kind of a frustrating experience. And that frustrating experience, if you push through it, maybe it'll be the next great thing in your setup. Maybe it'll be the next Octatrack in your setup, right? That happened with me with the Octatrack. That's a balancing act you kind of have to play. But again, as my wife can attest, frustrations with new gear can be a problem when you're trying to use that new gear to actually make music. Because, you know, you sit down to try to make music, you spend 20 minutes fucking figuring out how to turn the metronome on. And then you're done because your dog shat on the floor, your kid's on the ground crying, he fell off his bed, just got our kids' bunk beds, waiting for that other shoe to drop. And you're bonered, man. Sorry, this is family-friendly content. And you're wienered, man.
And your butt's so sweaty.
So, yeah. This is, like, the point that I struggle with the most. Because, like, I do think that a choice piece of gear can augment your workflow meaningfully. If it's, like, a MIDI hub that's gonna, like, you know, make MIDI transmission a lot easier for you, you should probably get that gear. You should probably get that piece of gear. That's gonna help you. If it's additional cabling to cable things up nicer, you should buy that. But if it's like your 4th sampler, dude, it's probably not going to be meaningfully different from the first 4 you got. So, yeah, that's number 2. It'll probably make your workflow more difficult, more confounding. It'll prevent you from making music for longer because it's just a new thing to learn. Learning new things is hard, and making music is already hard. So use the stuff you already know how to use, so like that clerical part of the process is already done. Okay. Number 3 is the big one. And this is something my wife is going to weigh in on. My wife, right? Please laugh. Please. I don't hear you laughing. Laugh at them, my wife.
Wife cry if no laugh.
You don't. You don't think that my wife's joke is funny? What about my name's Jeff? Does that? I don't know what's funny anymore. It's fine. No, it's fine. No, don't laugh now. Okay, now it's just weird. Now it's a whole thing. My mic is falling over. Anyway. Number 3. Gas sets up a really, really negative cycle where you buy a thing thinking, this is going to be the thing that does it. This is going to be the last thing that I need to make the setup work or to get me over that hump so I can start putting out music. This is the thing that will help me put out my album. And then it's not. And then you're disappointed that it didn't do it. So you kind of sit around not making music. And then you sell the thing and you look for a new thing to buy and you're still not making music. And then you buy the new thing and you're waiting for the new thing. And of course you can't make music while it's on its way to you because your setup isn't done yet. You have to wait for the thing to come, which will complete your setup and will definitely work this time, the 100th time. You spend a lot of time not making music, waiting on something that you think is going to help you make music. And it's just a cycle that gets so easy to get stuck in. I mean, months I've been stuck in this cycle. Not currently, but like in my past, where I haven't made any music because I'm waiting on new gear and the new gear doesn't work out and it sucks. It really fucking sucks. And so if your goal is to produce music and you're constantly acquiring gear and trying out new gear, I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend trying to stray away from that as much as possible because I'm sure a lot of people can identify with this. And so it's worth talking about. I feel like it's something that we don't talk about enough, this sort of fallacy of like seeking out gear to complete some sort of fabled setup or complete some sort of, mythical perfect. And my wife can attest to the many, many times that I have left my studio, it's just right there. Our bed's over there. In a huff and laid down in bed like, oh, it doesn't fucking work. I didn't do it. The music didn't happen. Right? Tell them that. Make fun of my failures.
You do that.
Yeah.
I think another thing too that like kind of goes with the idea. I mean, okay. Obviously, if you watch the video where we taught me how to do the octatrack, I don't music. I don't understand it. But I am an artist, like visual art. So I do understand wanting new things to make my art better. And so that is something that I identify with Daniel. But something that Daniel has that I don't really have is like following people on Instagram or YouTube videos and like just because somebody else, like it's always like, well, this guy, I've seen it be used 100 times by this person. So I've seen the tutorials. I know how it's going to work. I'm just going to do what they do. And you're not them, and like it's not the same, and that's like something that I've noticed, as well as you see all of these people on social media and artists that you look up to, and you think, oh, if I just get what they get, I'm gonna make music like them, and it's like, yeah, man, but you're not them. You're you, which is great.
Yeah. That actually brings up a really great like sub point to this. So like 3A, we've been talking a long time. 3A, you are not your favorite demo reviewer. You are not your favorite artist. You're you. And listen,
not Andrew Wong.
You're not Andrew Wong. You're not Knobs. You're not Jeremy Blake. Unless you are. And if you are, hey, thanks for watching. What's up, Andrew?
Oh, did that at the same time.
Can I have your shared system, bro? Anyway.
Can I have a hug?
You're you. And listen, I love you unconditionally, but you're not as good as them. Sorry, neither am I. Okay, and you're not me either. You might be better than me. You're probably better than me. That's a safe bet. At least when you watch me, like I can do what this schmuck's doing. But I watch Knobs do pedal reviews, and I can't tell you how productive a thing it is for me to be like, oh, right, I'm not him.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. Yeah. That's silly. And so you should do that when you're watching your favorite synthfluencer show you this amazing synthesizer. Be like, wait, am I them? No, I'm not. I won't be able to make that stuff. So maybe I don't need that piece of gear. I'm me and I have my gear, so I should use what I have.
Yeah.
Good point.
Enjoy the content. Don't get the false idea of it fixing everything.
Right, exactly. And like on the subject of like you're you and you should use the gear that you already have, it's sort of leads perfectly into number 4, which is it not only does it prevent you from making music, but it prevents you from diving deeper with the gear you already have. Like, do you think that, to kind of make an art analogy here, do you think Van Gogh would have ever gotten good at painting oils? At painting oils, if he was like, bro, what if I sculptured?
What if I carved wood?
Bro, I just need to whittle. I just need to whittle a whittle, and then I won't need my earwas. He would have been awful. And listen, people still thought he was awful, and he died a horrible death, thinking he was awful. But you won't, probably. So my point is, like, focus on what you have, right? The whole thing about my channel is diving deep on the Octatrack, finding all the joy that we can yank out of this fucking box, right? It made us work for it, so we're gonna get our work back in droves. And like, that's what I want for you. That's what I find myself disappointed in myself when I buy a new piece of gear, because I sit down and I'm like, fuck, I don't know how to use this thing. And so now I feel like, damn, not only do I not know how to use this thing, every minute I spend with this is something I could be spending doing something new on the Octatrack, or doing something new with the Digatone, and like pushing myself further with gear that I already know and love. And again, this is all with the framing device that you're trying to make music. If you're just trying to explore the world of gear, whatever, have fun. Like, this video is not for you. This video is kind of for prospective artists, people that are really trying to make music with this gear. And to be clear, one is not more valid than the other. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this is, I think, the headspace that I've been in for the 4 years that I've been doing this. And you mentioned buying art supplies,
right?
Which is like something that you do, and like,
yeah.
Right, like you've dabbled in oil a little bit.
It's a mess.
You've dabbled in acrylic.
Acrylic, yeah.
Yeah, and so
watercolor.
Right, and so like I see her do all these different styles, but I think that like her ink drawings and some of the digital stuff she does is like her best work, and like she's been really like pinning down and focusing on that, and it's like she's doing some of her best work. And like some of the best music I've made is when I've just like sat down and really focused on a couple plugins or an instrument, like the Digitact and the Digatone. Some of my best music that I've been working on has just been from those boxes. So I really encourage you to learn the gear that you have. Every time you feel like you want a new thing, learn something new on the piece of gear you do have, because there's definitely room there for you to grow and develop with that piece of gear. And every minute that you spend with a new piece of gear is a minute that piece of gear is neglected. And we've all seen Toy Story, right? Yeah. Yeah. Don't give your Octatrack to a little girl at a daycare. She'll ruin it. She doesn't understand she's a girl.
She's a girl.
And that kind of brings me perfectly into number 5, which is gear acquisition syndrome, especially compulsive gear acquisition syndrome, is an excuse for you. And I know you don't want to hear this, because I didn't want to hear this when it occurred to me. And maybe it's not true for you, but I think it's true for a lot of people. Art's hard, man. Making music is really fucking hard. Making good music is almost impossible. It's a Herculean task that is thankless and rewardless and feels like an uphill battle with, weights around your ankles, and not in the cool way where it's like an anime fight and you're going to take them off later and dash all around Rock Lee style, but like an I'm tired and my legs hurt and why am I climbing up this mountain kind of way. Gas does this great thing where it excuses you from that, because you're just thinking about that next piece of gear. You're thinking about learning this new piece of gear, when I get this, then I'll make music. Then I'll make, this album. Then I'll release this project, because then it will have this thing. It's a lie. And it's a nice lie, and it's a comforting lie. And as a dad, I understand comforting lies, because you got to tell them all the time. But we got to be grown-ups here, and we got to speak frankly with each other. It's a lie. You're never going to make better music if you're just thinking about gear and what to buy and what you're going to get next. And it excuses you from the battle of inches that is being an artist. And you're doing yourself a disservice for it. If you feel like your music is not where it should be, I urge you not to buy a new piece of gear. I urge you to find new avenues for you to use what you do have, to ask yourself critically what is missing from your abilities and how can you improve on those. And honestly, the hardest thing to do is just keep going. Just don't stop trying to make music, because that's when you lose. You don't lose when you make bad music. You don't lose when you fail to make a full song. You lose when you stop trying to make music and you just start jerking off with gear. And like, gear's great. I love it. And it helps me in a lot of interesting ways. In the same way that like my wife jumping to a different art medium can help get her out of a funk, or like, I don't know. I don't want to speak for you. Like, what does changing mediums do for you?
I don't know. I like Daniel said, working with ink, like ink drawings and stuff like that. I also really like watercolor. I feel like for me, and I don't know because I'm not a musician, but it depends on the mood, right? Like, I do like digital art because it's easy and it's on the iPad or whatever. But when I just want to like lose my thoughts or just kind of like get, I don't know, engulfed in just creating, then yeah, I'll do watercolor and stuff. And it's the times that I've seen Daniel the happiest are the times that he is just like grooving on the Octatrack. And Daniel got the Octatrack and then decided that Daniel didn't like the Octatrack. And then Daniel got rid of the Octatrack twice. And then the last time he told me, yeah, I got the Octatrack again and it's on the way. I was like, you're never, ever, ever getting rid of it. Because he would just like, I mean, you guys can't see it whenever he's in the videos or like, behind the scenes, but he'll just fucking jam. And it's so great because I know what that's like as an artist, is just being totally engulfed and just enjoying it. And that, I think, is when you're going to, enjoy it the most. And you can only get that with something that you are familiar with and that you know what the buttons and the twisty knobs and the
Well said. So, yeah, to wrap up, I care about you. Okay? We care about you. Your mom and dad, we care about you. And I don't want you to make the same mistakes I made. I still make them. I probably shouldn't have bought the machine drum, to be totally candid with you. I think I'm going to sell it. It's just not doing anything for me currently. I want to keep pushing and trying it, but, most of the time I'm using it, I'm just wondering why I'm not using what I have and trying to make music with the stuff I have. So, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of room for discussion on this topic, and that's kind of why I wanted to make this video, because I had a conversation with a couple friends in a group chat, and it really kind of got me thinking. And I genuinely want to know how you feel about this. I want to have a discussion about it because, this is how I feel about it, and I obviously have pretty strong views, but yours are probably different, and some of you might be mad at me for saying these things or call me an ignoramus, and that's okay, because I definitely am. But, yeah, I think that's all I got for you. I think that's all we got for you. As always, I want to thank you so much for watching. Could have sat down with anybody this evening, but you chose to sit down with us. And why wouldn't you? Fucking look at us. Thanks for doing that. Really means a lot. So we'll be back next week with a new video.
I won't be.
She won't be here.
I'll be gone.
Just be me. The desk will return, and we'll make some new content for you, hot off the grill. Flip it out your way, and you'll take a big bite, and you'll go, juicy content. Helps me survive another day on this planet that is slowly dying. So, on that bright note, my friends, I'm Daniel.
I'm Ricky.
This is The Messy Desk, and I love you more than I love feeling content with the stuff I already have. I'll see you next week. Peace.